show your feelings. I think this is very, very key. How many leaders have you worked with who truly show their feelings, or who are, what should I say, very stoic in their presence? Um, so let's start by agreeing on one thing. So as human beings, we bring our full selves to work with us, right? That is body, mind, and spirit. But there are also some leaders who are good at not showing their feelings. One person who comes to mind is Manmohan Singh. Just kidding. I used to have this direct report. She was one of the most hardworking and dedicated person that I've ever worked with. But one thing was very clear was that when it was crunch time, everybody knew that it was crunch time because she used to be so stressed, she would snap easily, rude responses to emails, outbursts in front of the whole team, and that's not the feeling I'm talking about. I'm not saying that you should suppress your feelings, but what I'm saying is I'm sure all of us experience that. There's a very important delivery. We've committed to our customer. We are under the gun, and there'll be some teammate who is not putting his or her full potential. And that's what we feel, that this person is not carrying the weight and it's pulling the project delivery down. What do? Instead of showing our negative feelings with negative words, I think this is the time what we need to do is we need to sit, talk to this person. Maybe it's not easy because all of us, we know how it is. It's especially during crunch time. It's definitely not easy. But one thing is there, we should not try to exhibit our negative feelings. Instead of using negative words, what we can use is we can say something like, I'm so surprised during the situation, you are taking it so easy. What this happens is you're not using all your negative energy and words instantly. Instantly they feel they're not feeling defensive, and they're able to have a conversation, and it becomes easier for them to respond, and also we will be able to see their point of view. Maybe there is something going on with them. So the kind of leader I am is someone who is eternally positive, very passionate, candid, forthright, and some of the feedback received is that I exude a lot of positive energy. So I think it's very important to have feelings as a leader, because when you have feelings, you are able to connect with people. And I'm not just talking about your team members, but anybody. When others look at you and they say that, oh, this person is not a machine, they also have the same kind of problems as we do. They also feel happy when we do the same kind of things. They are emotionally able to connect very easily. And I'm sure many of you have read this. Nowadays, people are giving more importance to EQ rather than IQ. IQ is necessary, but emotional quotient is more important than intellectual quotient. So that's why it's so important for us to be able to exhibit our feelings, but having said that, in the right way. Another subset of feeling is also being passionate. I believe that in our role, it's very necessary to be passionate. We have to raise their energy and motivate and inspire people. And also, I believe that passion puts vision into practice. A leader who is passionate about work mostly is also, not mostly, all the time, is also passionate about people who work for him or her. After all, a leader needs a team to lead. I hope you guys are still with me. Before I take the next questions, let me share what Warren Buffett had to say. His quote is, do what you are passionate about. If you do this, there will be few people competing or running faster than you. And I couldn't agree more with him, what he has to say. So as you guys are thinking about this quote, let me answer some questions. Yeah, Rohit Raina has asked a very good question, and we face it day in and day out, Rohit. I feel your pain. What he's saying is, how should team leader react if one of his team members is not performing even after a lot of efforts? Conditions: company don't want to lose this person. First of all, our first question is, why does the company not want to lose this person if he is not performing? Usually we know that most of in the corporate world we have something called as a performance plan. We try to give them focus. Performance plan is not a way to get a person out. It's not the exit strategy, but actually in many cases I've seen that it works for the benefit of the employee, because there are times when they're freshers out of college who are working for the first time, they're not able to manage their backlog of work properly. So they digress and they start concentrating on everything. So does this person have a problem trying to manage his work? Is he hardworking? First is, if his attitude is right and he has the right aptitude, it definitely is worth sitting, trying to support this person and help this person with the backlog, trying to make this person concentrate on what needs to get done, and look and see if this person also needs training on some of the skills. So the question is, if you're saying, my question that I had is, Rohit, you say that there's a lot of effort being put, but still the company doesn't want to lose. So that's the contradiction I don't understand. If somebody, is this person really good to have? Why? So that's the only thing. So Paratosh is asking me, hi Nitya, any one trait that's strict no for a leader? Is there one? In my 2 cents, I believe there is one. A leader should have integrity. If he or she doesn't have integrity, I believe that's a strict no. So Deepika is asking this question. Once in college, I had a team that would believe everything I said and considered it to be right. I was sometimes frustrated because I wanted them to question, to disagree. How do we deal with this? How can the leader encourage the followers to challenge them and their vision? Deepika, that's a good question. Actually, in leadership, they talk about such kind of managers. We usually have 3 kind of managers. There's one who basically they have this master relationship. They truly believe that whatever the leader says is right, and they don't want to question. And sometimes it's cultural too. We know that in our Asian culture, the way we've been brought up, at least initially, now we do encourage, but 10, 15 years ago, when we used to go to college, we could question the professors. We always are told to respect the elders. So it starts from home saying that, oh, they are old, because of experience, what they say is right. And notice that many of these people also come from small towns where it's very prevalent. So, and I'm talking about Asian cultures, it's not just India, but also I've worked with many folks from different parts of Asia, and they all have this culture. It's ingrained in them. So it's part of the DNA, that not to question. So that could be part of it. So what one needs to do as a leader when they see that nobody is questioning and they're agreeing to everything somebody is saying, that's when the leader needs to take a back step and also has to don the role of a coach. So one of the things a coach needs to do is basically try to talk to the person and get questions and try to probe and get things out. Instead of the leader always talking, the leader should try to become a good listener and try to get others to speak and try to probe, and that's the only way that I can think of. And I understand, Deepika, your frustration when you see that nobody is challenging, and maybe you, Deepika, you could take up this action and be a leader and try to encourage others and try to be a role model, try to question so that they get the fear out of them that it's okay. I'm just asking a question. Hi, is it possible for one to become a good leader without going for MBA? In other words, without the MBA degree? Yes, you don't need to have an leader, is a good leader. So of course, yes. And a prime example, I'm not saying I'm a great or a good leader, but I don't have an MBA degree. And that should say it all. Thanks. So Suresh is asking me, just keen to know what are the challenges you faced during early days of your leadership role. That's interesting, Suresh. One of the challenges, so I went to Boston to study and I started my career there. And as I told you, I started as a computer science engineer. And mostly, if you see in the engineering side of the world, there are very few women. So one is trying to fit in because you're working with stereotypical people, and they used to that, right? There are very few women, at least during those days, in 1990s. I started my career in 1996, so I would be the only engineer with around 20 people. So one was there was a cultural difference. Second was so I was also the only woman, and we think differently. And inclusivity, I guess that's the biggest challenge, I would say. What was my leadership challenge? To try to make everybody be inclusive, because in general, if you've read about, in general, a leader is somebody who has this nurturing capability, who wants to get everybody involved, and that's something you will notice. You don't want to leave out anybody, and another thing is I was very verbose, and I never stopped myself. If I didn't believe in anything, I would speak up, and not every time being a candid person you get accepted. So I think that was the biggest challenge, trying to get accepted initially was a challenge. But once they started seeing the results, it becomes so much more easier. So Jay Gopal is asking, there are chances where the leader's strategy may fail in some cases. How the leader should react to that scenario? Yeah, one of the qualities which I'm not speaking about, but it's very essential within a leader, is to accept their fault when when they fail. They should be the people who should be talking about it, accepting, taking ownership and accountability for it. A good leader is somebody who always takes accountability when there's failures and gives credits to others when there's a success. So I would say he should be very candid and truthful. He or she should be very candid or truthful and not try to hide things, because people can see through it. So coming back, I'll answer some more questions. Coming back to our last mantra, listen, listen, listen. I think this is the key differentiator between a good leader and a great leader. A great leader is a very good listener. Have you ever sat on a scheduled one-on-one meeting and while you are talking suddenly you see this person taking calls or writing emails or sending SMSs, and it's a scheduled one-on-one meeting. How do you feel about it when such a thing happens? Do you feel you're being discounted? Um, do you feel that a person can do multitasking? So very early in my career, one of the first leadership trainings that I attended was about listening. Actually, it was inclusivity and listening skills. And I think that really taught, and I realized the value and importance. It's very important to look into a person's eye, because not every time does the person convey anything just by talking or over email. So you have to look at other things, look for other cues like their body language. And I've noticed that most of the good leaders usually practice it. They try to see to it that they can give undivided attention or listen totally. When they're sitting in a meeting, they do have eye-to-eye contact and talk to the person, take notes. And that's very, very important. One needs to listen and understand the pulse and try to empathize with this other person too. I was also watching TV the other day, and there was an interview being done on a junior reporter, and one of the questions asked to the junior reporter was, which leader would he like to interview at any given point of time? And without battling an eyelid, the answer which he gave was Bill Clinton. And he said Clinton had the uncanny ability to make anybody he spoke to feel important, as he would devote all his attention on them, irrespective of who was present. And he was narrating that during one of those meetings. There were a lot of other industry leaders out there, presidents, ex-presidents. Bill Gates was also there. Supposedly Bill Gates was standing next to this junior reporter, but Bill Clinton still made the junior reporter feel as important as everybody else. And that's what he remembers and he felt so important about. And I think most of the people here also, if you work with anybody, when you give them undivided attention, you will notice the difference. So in business settings especially, one needs to ask questions that move the conversation forward, and that will give another opportunity to listen to the speaker. It is important for the leaders usually to make the first move, to ask for questions, to ask for feedback. So good listeners usually solicit feedback, and just not solicit feedback, but more importantly, they also take action based on the feedback. So in the book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There by executive coach Marshall Goldsmith, he says this. He says 80% of our success in learning from other people is based on listening. So what does it mean? It means that success or failure is determined before we do anything. Just remember that. Can you believe it? 80% of our success is learning from other people, and it's totally based on listening. So it's very important trait for a leader to have the ability to listen to those unsaid words, to listen to those pauses in the sentences, and it's very key for a good leader, a great leader. So finally, I'm done with all my 5 mantras. As I mentioned, I think I've 5 mantras. The first one is take long-term view of the future, paint a shared vision, just not a vision, a shared vision, make speedy and creative decisions, show your feelings, and finally listen. There's one more mantra that I really wanted to share, because I personally work very hard at it, and I believe it will be very beneficial to all of you. The reason why I didn't put it as a mantra is it's intertwined with all the other mantras. Building relationships. I think this is something which is very key. A good leader usually doesn't burn bridges because a leader understands how long it takes to build a relationship. What's the time taken? What's the effort taken to do so? My father was in the army, so I traveled with him, and every 2 years we would get transferred. So one thing I had to learn very early in life is build new relationships. And during those days, we didn't have technology that we could hang on to the old relationships either. But now, thanks to it. But I truly believe that I learned a lot, and this got me ahead. And so what I mean is, I understood how to build relationships and the value of relationship at a very young age, and now where I'm using it in the business world, it's very important to have networks. Building networks is very key, especially in the world that we are. It's a very small world. We tend to meet different people, and we do need to build our networks to be ahead and to understand what's happening to them. We should be able to reach out to people when need be. So